This is an old videos on amprobe amp meter. This is a probe based amp meter. These are the amp probes or induction probes. Basically, it's induction because it's contactless. The way these things work is basically the same principle GFCI relies on. That's why I have this. This is an old 3-wire extension cord. Hot, ground, neutral. This is just paper garbage. Basically, when in GFCI, you're going to have a hot neutral going through basically what amounts to one of these probes. When the current is equal, up goes this way and returns, it's going to be equal. The magnetic field cancels out, so there's no induction causing this probe in the GFCI. And that's why it would. But if it's different, then it assumes the hot's going to ground or somewhere else, so then that causes it to trip, because then this would register that there's a condition in the amperage is going somewhere else and it's not canceled out, so then it trips. And it's basically the same principle that this thing uses, or vice versa, GFCI or an amp probe induction type of meter. This is a little bit special meter though. A friend of mine gave this to me. This goes from 15 to 300 amps. It has time sharing or current transducer 1, which basically means that it can use this one or 3 of these. So you, if you wanted to, you could use this on like a 3-phase motor, 3-phase panel, what have you. If it's going up to 300 amp, you would probably be looking at some kind of a 3-phase panel entrance, service entrance, something like that. This is kind of an older model. I'm not quite sure what the operating principle on this is, but according to what I read once, this is like a magnetic paper, and there's some kind of like a needle in here that moves, and when it records, it causes some kind of a pulse, and that records these dots on this paper. And this paper goes up to 300. So I'm guessing, I'm not for sure on this because it's so old I can't find much information. I don't really know if there's if you use these lower ranges, if you would change the paper to say like there'd be like a 15 amp paper and it would be divided up differently, 60 amp and so on like that. Or if you just use this paper and then you just calculate like a ratio type of thing based on the scaling that this has and what you're doing. This is that's the paper number. I don't know what exactly the model on this thing is. And then my test here is this cord is hooked into the space heater, which is basically my dummy load. And that's hooked onto a GFCI just because of these wires and stuff like that. And I'm going to plug this in now. I'm going to plug the amp meter in first. And you can hear it clicking. That basically means that it's recording, but nothing's running. So I'm going to turn the heater breaker on now. I have power on the heater, but nothing running. So I'm going to turn it on high. And here we will see it's recording those little dots. And you should see a sequence of dots appearing along there. Like that. Right now it's only on probe 1, so it's just using that one probe. And that one probe is on the hot wire over here, so that's that probe here is probe 1. Now if I turn it to low, you'll see a decrease. I'm not quite sure why the amp, I thought this was based on time, but I don't know why it like jumps back here. It must be because of the arc of the mechanism. That's all I can think, be based on those lines on the paper. That's medium. If I turn it to low, you'll then see dots start to appear way down by the bottom there. I'm going to do the same thing. But this time I'm going to switch this to time sharing. This will record both of those probes except the third one, which is not plugged in. So you'll see like every other, you'll see 2 spots, and then it should stop, and you'll see another 2 spots. Blank spot. Usually every time it clicks it makes a recording, or what I believe anyway. Then if I turn it to low, and then you basically get a trace of the amperage over a period of time with this type of system. Anymore, something like this would be all digital and digitally done. Who knows how you tie into a phone or computer, at least anyways. This is kind of an old school thing, but even something like this, I'm sure probably wasn't a cheap setup, especially in the day when it was made. And there's not much point doing that on the low settings, so. And then now it's just going to record 0 amperage, so I'm going to turn it off. And turn off the GFCI. But that's kind of how this thing records amperage. And you can use this, probably find surges or in things that would be tripping breakers. Or maybe you need to know how much power you're going to need to run something. But this thing is basically, you could use it to measure current, or in theory wattage, over 3 phases if you wanted to.